Hello again. It's me. I did another little cut on my lapidary saw. After I ended the last video, I decided I was going to cut up some, what I think is mudstone. I'm going to show it to you here in just a second. I cut it into approximate shapes, and I've flattened down the back, and I'm going to start working on the cab making of these and just kind of see how it goes. So stop the video. I'm going to turn around and give you a tour of what the rocks look like now and what I hope they'll look like in the future. So let me stop this. I'm going to switch around. Now I'm back. So this is what the stone looks like raw. It was probably about 3 inches by 3 inches. So I cut a couple different cab sizes out of it. And you can see I kind of cut close on some of the edges, but I should be able to grind this down. I've got the back all flat. You can see a little bit of an indentation down here at the end, but I think that side is going to actually end up getting cut off right there. So this should be flat on the back. You can kind of see the pattern of what it's going to look like. See the lines in there. Got another one. Here's the other cab I cut out. Just want to cut a little bit closer to the edge, so I may have to do some shaping on that again. A little bit of an indentation there. I may try to grind that down. I don't know. It's going to be on the back part of the rock. This is the side that I want to show. So the next step is I'm going to use the 80 grit to kind of get all the rest of the edges off and try to get it as close to an actual cab shape as I can. And then once that's done, I'm going to set it here. I'm going to put a little marker, a Sharpie, right next to it, and I'm going to twist the whole rock around. And that's going to put a line probably about 2 or 3 millimeters up from the base. That is where I'm going to be putting my groove. I have my glass grinding machine right there that'll put the groove in for me. But I want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom for that groove to go, and then anything above my fingernail there will get rounded down, and I'll round it down to where my fingernail is, where I draw that line, and that will be the rounded top of the cabochon. So first step is getting it into its shape, nice and round. Second step is to draw the line where we're going to put the groove for the wire. And then third step is to round it all down. So the line I draw isn't where the groove's going to be, it's just the amount of flat space I need to leave on the side of the cab to make sure that I have room for the groove. And I'm going to do the same thing on this one. Now this one's going to be a little bit more challenging because one side's a lot thicker than the other, but we'll see what we can do. Now this stone, I don't know if it's banded chert or mudstone or what. I just thought it looked cool. So hopefully it'll polish up nice and we'll be able to make some nice cabochons with it. But for now, I think what I'm going to do is just kind of get them in the shape, and I may have to call it a night because it's getting kind of dark here. So I'll back it a bit and let you watch me grind down the sides. Okay, I've been grinding away at this one a little bit, and what I noticed is it wasn't really a good shape. So I kind of ground it down a little bit more, and then on the back, you can see I made the cabochon shape. I have a template that I use to make the shape, and I don't know where I put it just recently, but I have a template, there it is, that I bought online. It's a metal template that allows me to put any shape I want to, be it oblong with a point or kind of more rounded. I put a shape onto these mudstones that they most closely resembled, and then I ground around the sides until I got to that shape. Then what I did is I went around the top and started grinding it down a little bit. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put the stone up here like this. I'm going to get my Sharpie like this. I'm going to set my Sharpie like that, and I'm going to go around the outside edge so that it makes a mark at that level with Sharpie just sitting straight. So I'm going to do that real quick here and put the phone up here while I quickly do that so you can see. get it done here, almost done. Just be patient. Okay, got that drawn on. So now, if you take a look at the stone, you'll see that I've drawn a line at the same level all the way around the outside edge. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the grinding wheel and I'm going to grind at about a 45-degree angle until I hit that line. So I can see the line as I'm grinding, just like this. I'm going to grind until I hit the line. And that will put an angle all the way along the outside edge, and then I'm going to put an even steeper angle on this upper part here until I get a nice kind of almost diamond-like edge on the edge. So faceted edge is what I'm looking for, that's the word. So I'm going to put a faceted edge on this. Once the faceted edge is in there, I'm going to hit it again a little bit with this, kind of round it out. And then I'm going to go down to this one, round it out more, and then I'm going to go this one. And that's going to get all of the grind lines out. You know, I've mentioned it in other videos, but as you're grinding with the stone, you can kind of see it there. It makes grooves in the direction that the wheel is turning. So I've got a lot of grooves in here, and if you leave those the way they are, they end up making the stone very pale. We've got lots of stripes in it that are lighter, doesn't let it shine. So this will give it the shape, this will refine the shape, this one will get those groove marks out, and then the last three will give it a polish. So I'm gonna do the 45-degree angles on this, kind of clean it up, hit it with this, and then show you the result. So back in a few. All right, at this point, I've pretty much hit it with the 80 grit until I've got the nice rounded shape. It was a very faceted shape up until recently, but I tried my best to round it out. You can still see as I hit the reflection with the light, there are areas where it's flat. And you can also see in the light the groove lines of where the grinding wheel grind into the stone. So you can see the vertical lines going there and the horizontal lines going there. So I'm going to hit it next with this one and this one, kind of round out the top, give it a nice rounded shape all the way around. I may round it down more, I'm not sure. That's an awful lot of space for a groove, so I may just use the side here and flatten it out, make this area a little bit thinner, and then we'll get a groove in there probably just about where my thumbnail is there, all the way around. So you can see I've got quite a bit extra on that side I don't really need. There's a side grinding wheel back here that's flat that allows you to sit this on a flat surface and kind of grind down the side until it's a lot thinner. So we'll probably do that, get that a little thinner, and then make sure that the groove is like just a couple millimeters below where that other line is, and we're going to grind it down so we don't have as much stuff on the back. In the meantime, I'm going to work on hitting this with 220, 280 to get it completely rounded and all of the grooves polished off, and then I'll hit it with the higher grits to give it more of a polish, and we'll see how this mudstone polishes up. If you could look closely, you should be able to see the lines. The lines in there are really cool, got a really cool pattern, but I've never polished one of these stones before, so I don't know what it's going to turn out like. So I guess we'll just kind of see together how it ends up looking. So I'm going to go back to work. Okay, I just finished putting the final polish on. Still got to cut the groove, but there it is. Hopefully you can see all those patterns and stuff underneath there. It's really a pretty stone. It's not the gray stone that it was before, so let me pull the two of them together here. So yeah, that's what it started like. That's how it ended up. That's really amazing how much different that is. So the next step will be to put the groove on the back. Before I do that, like I said, I think I may want to take some off the back. On the back you can see I still have the original grinding marks. I have grounded it back down quite a bit before. You can also see I'm not terribly even with my grinding the bevel on my cabochon. You can see the indentation there. So I'm by no means an expert on this, but I am getting better. So I think what I'll do now is hit it with the side grinder, grind down the back a little bit, probably get it to about maybe there, Maybe ground like, I don't know, 1/16, 1/8 of an inch off the back, and then put a groove right up here, and then should be ready to tie. And I may actually record doing the wire wraps as well. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but it's something I have to do to finish this. So the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is when I polished it, it really brought out some of the microline fractures there in the rock. You can see that big crack right there, right along the edge. It goes right on up like that and over. It's a big crack. So there are some fractures that you can't see in the rock, but overall I really like the appearance of it. Let me get the back polished down. I'll cut the groove in it, kind of show you what it looks like before I go in and wrap it. All right, so I've ground the back down a little bit more. You can see it's a lot thinner than it was before. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it against this grinding wheel and grind a groove into the side. I'm just going to slowly turn this around against the grinding wheel. Now, I want the groove to be the same depth all the way around, and one trick to doing that is to make sure that you have a line or some indicator on your blade that shows where to put that mark or how deep to drill. So what I'm going to do is turn this on. I'm going to get my marker, which is back here, and what I'm going to do is, while it's running, just put my marker right down on the edge like that and draw a line all the way around so I know how deep to go. So that's what I'm going to do real quick. Be right back. Okay, I go through a lot of Sharpies that way, but you can see there's a line there. That is how deep I want the groove to go into the stone. So I'm going to put the stone up against it. You'll notice that my sponge in the back is wet. There's water underneath here, and that water is being soaked up in the sponge, which is resting against the blade, which keeps it cool while it's grinding the rock. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, we're done. We've got the groove cut in the side, hopefully at about the same depth. And that should be enough to hold the wire, which will wrap around the cabochon. We'll finish the pendant off, put some wire around it. I think I'll use some black wire. We'll see how that goes. Wrap it up, put a bail at the top. That's the stem that goes up here and has a loop that you put on your chain or whatever you're going to put the pendant on. And we'll just see how it looks. So I'll work on that next, and I'll record that as I do it. All right, we're back inside. I have a helper, always good at helping with the wire. Got the groove cut about the same depth all the way around. Hopefully that's just the right depth, so when I put a wire inside of it, it fits it just perfectly. Now, I went out and bought copper wire, and I'm following a pattern I found online, and I'll share that in the description. Same one that Michigan Rocks actually uses. They start with 20 gauge square. So this is 20 gauge. The lower the number, the thicker the wire. So this is 20 gauge, and it's copper, and it's just round. So this is one of the wires I'll use. The other one I have is 20 gauge, and this one's square. So you can see on the side it says square. And if you look at the end of it, which is going to be really hard to do, it is actually square shaped. So if you look at the wires in the bag, you can see that they're square shaped. They're not round. That one over there is round. This one is 22 gauge, which means it's a little bit thinner. This is a half round. So that means one side is flat and the other side is round. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with, is we're going to get, I think, about 12 inches of the square. We're going to bend it around the rock. We're going to pinch it together up here, and then we're going to use the 22 gauge half round, and we're going to go around the top and squeeze the wire together up here at the top. So we're going to wrap it up with the two wire ends pointing out the way my thumb and finger are pointing. We're going to pinch it there with a pair of pliers. Then we're going to take the half round and we're going to wrap it in a circle, going closer and closer and closer to the rock. And by doing that, it's going to tighten that square wire tight into the rock so that the rock can't fall out. Once I've got that wrapped in the half round wire, the 22 gauge, I'm going to use a pair of rounded needle nose pliers to make a loop at the end, and then I'm going to run after we get the loop, the wires are going to run right back down along the back of the cabochon. So I'm going to have a loop, and then those ends that I was talking about are going to go right along the back. And then I'm going to get my 20 gauge wire, the regular wire, and go over top the original wrapping of the 22 gauge, and again pinch it down towards the cabochon until it's tight. And in the end, when you do that, you end up with something like this. So you can see the square wire is in the groove. It goes up, comes into a loop, and comes back down, and you can actually kind of see the end. I'm not too good at this yet. So you can see the ends down there right at the tip of the cabochon. Goes round and down, and then underneath this is the 22 gauge wrapped around the square wire to tighten it into the rack, and then over top of the 22 gauge I wrapped the 20 gauge again to make this spiral look at the top. Now as you can see, this one's, it's not bad, it's not perfect. I'm not going to be anything of an expert, but you can kind of see what it looks like. Now I have all these wire shapes and sizes in copper, but unfortunately I don't have them in black. The only thing I have in black is the round wire. So what I'm going to do now is probably just wrap this in a copper wire, which will look okay, not as cool as the black, and just kind of see what it looks like finished. And then in the long run I may go out and buy the same gauge wires in black. I do have 20 gauge black somewhere in here, and just kind of see if the black looks better. You can always undo it and do it again. Here's my black wire. So yeah, that looks really nice. You have to be a little careful using the black wire. Again, I have help. Hi Maple, very helpful, thank you. So the black wire, you can wrap things in. You got to be a little careful with it because it is actually copper wire underneath, and it's just got a black coating. Yeah, hi, you're very helpful. So if you're using your pliers on it, it's very easy to scrape that black coating off, and then the copper shines through. So yes, is it an approval? I love you too. So anyways, I'm going to try to work on that. I have lots of help, as you can see. We'll see how that goes. I'll show you what it looks like in the end, maybe take some pictures and include them at the end of the video. I'll also include the links to where I got some of this stuff from. The cat will help, of course, very helpful. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. This is my little jewelry toolkit that I use. My wife had it left over from when she took jewelry classes. This is just some of the tools that are in it. The rest of the tools are around here somewhere. Gotta dig them up. But that's what I use to crimp everything down, to wrap it, to kind of tighten it down to the cabochon and make it work. So I'm gonna get to work on that. I have kitty cat helper. You can see some of the failed attempts. But I'm gonna work on that and see how far I can get with my kitty cat helper. Hi, kitten. Oh my goodness. You're just nothing but loves. I love you too. Yes. All right. We'll be back in a little bit. So I just finished the final wrap. That is how it looks. As you can see, I am no expert at making this, but not terribly bad for a wrap for me. It's really difficult to see when you've got bad eyes, so I kind of spread the top of the bail a little bit at the top. I just think it looks nicer, so I'll probably kind of clean that up. A nice round loop at the top. You can see the ends of the wires and where I've cut them off, but the rock is in there tight. So that's my little pendant that I made today. So that's how I do it. Probably work on a few more of these and take more videos as I do, but that kind of gives you a rough idea, and hopefully as my videos continue, the quality will improve. But that's the end result. Thank you for watching.